Loading snacks.
Yo, what it do, snackers and snackettes? It's your boy Gage here, loading snacks, doing a special hangout spoiler cast. You've been warned. Star Wars: The Force Awakens spoiler cast. With me, as usual, is the good old new Joker.
Yo.
And also with me once again is OutBREAK of Average Bros Reviews.
What up, guys?
OutBREAK?
How's it going?
I'm doing fine.
I'm here to party.
New Joker's doing okay. So before we get into this, OutBREAK, just take a moment, tell everybody a little bit about your website, what it is, how they can reach you, all that kind of good stuff.
Got you. Yeah, I'm OutBREAK, co-founder of Average Bros Reviews. We review movies, music, games, a little bit of tech. We're starting to get into comics and books and anime a little bit. We do podcasts. We have 3 different shows that we run. We're working on a 4th. So we're trying to just get our hands into a little bit of everything. Every so often, you may see me on some Google Hangouts with Loading Snacks. You may even see Gage on some of our podcasts. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Average Bro OutBREAK. You can find our website, Average Bros Reviews, on Twitter as well. We got Facebook, Google+, really everything you can think of. We're all over the place. I'm actually about to start up an Instagram account. So,
how's your MySpace doing?
MySpace, it's not as thriving as it used to be.
Probably MySpace and Tag.
Right. I got Loading Snacks in my top 8 though.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So look, again, we're here to talk about Star Wars: The Force Awakens. We all had an opportunity to see it. Before we get too deep into it, I just want to cover a few things. I mean, this movie is setting and breaking records left and right, and I'm sure that it will continue to do so throughout the next few months. But I just wanted to go over a few things. So the opening weekend, it broke the record for domestic opening weekend by pulling in $238 million.
That's pocket.
It had a $279 million 5-day international debut, bringing its total to $517 million globally. It had the biggest Thursday preview ever, $57 million. Okay, and the biggest Friday opening at $120 million, and it is the first movie to ever gross over $100 million in one single day. So before we get too deep into it, regardless of what it is that we think and what we have to say about it, this movie's doing just fine. Apparently it's working. People have been waiting for this. And I think it is satisfying a lot of people's needs.
Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely.
I like that box office records are not as specific as like sports records. Because the sports records, you got like most catches in the 3rd week of December when the temperature is above 60 degrees on the East Coast. Like,
and you know what?
With box office is like you got highest grossing, lowest grossing, like that's all you got.
That's why though? Because even that doesn't really count. Because if the movie that broke the record broke it like 20 years ago, it doesn't cost the same amount of money. It costs so much more to go to a movie now.
Right, like the $50 I spent on the marathon.
See it in order for it to break a record. So, right. Shoulder shrugs, ears to the shoulder.
Right.
So look, let's just get right into it. New Joker.
Yo.
Your score for this movie out of 10 was?
I'll give it a solid 8.5.
Okay, now you went down a little bit because right after we saw it, when we posted our video, you
said a 9. So, I mean, definitely, I'm not going any lower than 8.5. I think for me, just because we've had, you know me, been waiting for this, and I think being with you and we've talked about certain things, I'm kind of like, you know what, you were a little bit right on there, and I think
Button
that's
hype.
why I dropped a half of a number, but
Okay.
I'm still staying firm on that though. But the movie overall, it's awesome. There's no doubt about that. It is awesome.
Okay. Now, my personal score was a 7.6.
The point six.
I heard that. I heard that.
Catching a little flack for that. I didn't really explain why that was because I didn't want to spoil it for anybody, and we will get into it. I have some very, very specific things
Spoilers.
that just, I feel like, kind of brought it down. I absolutely enjoyed the movie. I think it's absolutely worth your money. I think it's definitely worth going to see. I even think it's worth going to see, and again, like, I'm thinking about going to see it again tomorrow.
I am. IMAX.
It could happen. Outbreak.
Yeah, so I did my review. Posted that yesterday.
Okay.
We do our reviews out of 5, so I gave it a 4.75, which translates to a 9.5 out of 10. I loved it. Now, actually, when I first saw it, which this happens a lot with me, I really have to step back and go, like, is it really that good? Like, I was like, perfect movie.
Right.
But as I really dissected it, the reason that it didn't get a 10 and it got a 9.5, which is pretty damn close, is because of the conclusion. And we don't have to get into it right now, but I just feel like the conclusion was too open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it felt like a part 1 of 2 rather than, like, all the other Star Wars movies are kind of their own standalone film. Just like really any other trilogy or saga.
Agreed.
The movie should be able to stand alone by itself. Like, you can pop it in and watch it and feel satisfied. But Episode 7 was way too open-ended at the end. Just too many questions. Thanks, Abrams.
It's actually one of the reasons why I gave it the score I gave it. This is the first Star Wars film of 6 that I can remember that when it ended, it didn't feel like it had a definitive ending. Yes, they still won. Yeah, you got the feel-good music at the end of it and what have you, but it didn't feel... look, the first 4 through 6, the original trilogy, each one of those ended as if, like, because we didn't know if we were going to get another one. So they ended, and they felt definitive. I feel like episodes 1 through 3 at least attempted to replicate that feeling. You knew there were going to be 3. They announced they were doing a trilogy, but each one still
exactly
as its own.
Exactly.
This movie, when it ended, there's so many unanswered questions.
What it reminded me of was, like, how you got the, movies like The Hunger Games, where it's a book, and they're breaking it down into, like, it's alright if it doesn't end on an actual, like, ending note, because that's how it was meant to be, that's how it was intended, which is okay to do in a book. But, like, with this, it felt that same exact way, but there's nothing to go off of. It's not like this is mocking a book. There is no canon for it to go off of. This is all entirely new.
Yeah, what's funny is that ending scene with Luke Skywalker, with Rey making her way up the mountain and going to Luke Skywalker, what that felt like to me was that it was supposed to be the after-credits scene.
Yeah, exactly. I think the same exact thing.
And it may have been.
Spoiler alert on that
possible. I actually.
Oh, he announced at the beginning. We're good. If they didn't hear it at the beginning, they missed out. They're done.
It was supposed to be an after-credits thing, and they changed it because the word got out about Mark Hamill being in it, that Luke Skywalker was supposed to be in it. And had they just run the credits, I guarantee you a lot of people would have just left the theater, never saw that scene, and would have been upset. And you'd have all these people going, Luke Skywalker was supposed to be in it, he wasn't in it, da-da-da, whatever. And then people would be mad like people should be mad, I feel like, right now, that, like, he was in it for, like, all of 4 seconds. But they're not, because he was in the movie. Had they done it after the credits, they'd be like, man, they only gave him a little after-credit thing, whatever. So I feel like they moved it to avoid that.
I'm glad they didn't pull, like the Amazing Spider-Man 2, all the trailers had Rhino in it.
Yeah.
Then Rhino was in, like, the last 30 seconds of the
movie.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, all right, so I guess because obviously the giant elephant in the room is my personal score, because it's lower than you guys, I'm just going to tell you exactly what it is that kind of, and I kind of tried to map it out, right? One of the biggest issues I have with this particular film is the character development. I feel like the character development, it feels like the character development is set up to happen over the course of 3 movies. You didn't have that in any of the other films. This is a movie called The Force Awakens. Yes, you know that the Force has awakened. You now know who the Force has awakened in. You know that that's Rey, right? Like, before that, it could have been Finn.
Could have been.
Right.
You know it's Rey. But the movie's not about her. The movie's about Finn. This is his character was developed pretty well. You get his backstory. You know where he comes from. You know what happened to him. You know what's going on with him. You know he likes her. I mean, it's about him. It was kind of a finishing or follow-up to Han Solo and Leia. Cool. But the person who I feel like should have been or was supposed to be the main character didn't feel like the main character in this film, and that should have been Rey. Now, in terms of Rey's development, literally we essentially don't know anything about her. We don't know where she's from. We know where they found her. We don't know where she's from. We technically know who her father is. We don't know anything about her mother. We don't know why she was by herself. We don't know anything about her other than the Force has awakened within her, and clearly she's really, really, really strong. So that kind of bothers me. Like, the other thing about her is her Force abilities just kind of manifest, and not only do they manifest, but she seems to have this ridiculous amount of control over something. So, literally, like, over the span of a couple of hours, in, like, movie time, in, like, actual time, she went from never having any Force abilities, never doing anything with the Force, at least not that we know of, to finding out that she's related to Luke, has this Force ability, has a you know, a flashback, whatever, and all of a sudden, she's literally able to best a Sith Lord. Not just any Sith Lord. This is a Sith Lord who has two masters. He's being trained by the Lord of all Sith, and he was previously trained by the only remaining Jedi who is arguably the greatest Jedi ever, Luke Skywalker. This girl has no training. And not only was she able to block his attempt to read her mind, not just block it, but read his, deep enough to see that he's like, not even what he's thinking right now, but that like, you're afraid you're not going to be as good as Darth Vader. She was able to control a stormtrooper, right? And literally just by being reminded that the Force is a thing that exists during a fight with Kylo Ren, she's able to muster and beat him. Like, I think you should join me and I can help teach you to use the Force. And then literally it's like, oh yeah, the Force. And she closed her eyes like, let me concentrate. Now I'm going to whoop you. What?
I just want to say, if she could control a stormtrooper to make a shot, that would be impressive.
Hey, listen.
The mind control, that's that.
How about that? She can't, because nobody can.
Now, I will say, when the stormtroopers first rolled out, they were actually making some targets when they first got into the movie. They were actually hitting some things.
They never hit.
True.
They never hit the stars. They hit like the you know, the people who are running from them.
Bro, the movie would have been over in like the first 10 minutes if they would have done that.
That's it.
Oh my God, I made a shot! Credits! Right. Roll the credits!
It would have been great to have that.
Everybody go home. Let's break the fourth wall, Mel Brooks style.
In terms of character development, was with Kylo Ren.
Mm-hmm.
This dude is literally the worst Sith Lord ever. He's the
not Sith Lord
ever.
He's not Sith Lord yet.
He's a Sith. He stands as the Darth Vader of this movie.
On the dark side, but he's not a Sith Lord. He's not Darth.
Listen, he's Darth Kylo Ren. This dude is not, like, he stands as the Darth Vader of this film. Period. There's no antagonist in this film. Like, there's no real character that's an actual threat.
Yeah,
like,
well,
there's nobody for people to be afraid of.
I think that's part of the same thing, like my complaint about the conclusion. That's another thing, because they've, throughout the entire saga, they've always established that there's two Sith. There's the Master and the Apprentice. Now, Snoke may be the Master, that big-ass dude that we see in the holograms.
Who I actually think is probably, like, I think he's the same size as Yoda.
That's right. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, but I don't think he's, I don't know, like, I I have reason to believe that he's not Kylo Ren's master. I don't think he's the Sith Lord. I think it's somebody else that we haven't seen yet.
I mean, and that's highly possible. Still, my issue is that there's no solid antagonist in this film.
True.
There isn't any, like, Kylo Ren, for all the control over the Force he has, for all of what he's done, we haven't seen him, like, bring down a ship or anything like that, or raise a ship for that matter, but we know he can stop a blaster bolt in midair. That's kind of...
I think that looked pretty awesome.
It did look awesome,
but
not because he's special for doing it, but because special effects never did it before.
Oh, yeah.
That's all that is. But he also was, like, literally, he was like a little kid. He was a chump the entire film. Like, he gets bested by a literal noob to the Force, who, like, literally just found out today she has the Force. And still has no idea what that is or what that means. Matter of fact, is just finding out that the Force is actually a thing that exists because Han Solo said so. Like, it's all true. Like,
bro,
real.
If Harrison Ford or Han Solo tells you something's real, you believe it. You know
I'm not saying,
you know everything about it from that moment
not
forward.
the point. I'm not saying that she didn't think it was, that he didn't make it real. She just, that's how she found out. Like, oh, I thought that was all Meshuggah. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. But then the other thing is, Kylo Ren gets repeatedly chumped by a regular dude who runs the ship. He's just a dude on the ship. Darth Vader would have force choked that dude into pieces. And this dude's literally like, I don't care what you say. I'm going to go tell your master. And I will stand shoulder to shoulder with you and snitch on you, and you ain't going to do nothing about it because you're weak.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with, since we're talking about dudes on the ship and Finn and whatnot, was Captain Phasma. Like, they didn't do shit with her. They got figures and Halloween costumes and everything, and literally she's got like,
you didn't even get to see it.
Like, Boba Fett had more screen time.
Absolutely, and was also a threat.
Right.
Like, who are you more
Boba
afraid
Fett
of?
had more screen
General
time.
Grievous, because General Grievous isn't a Sith Lord. Who are you more afraid of?
You said between who?
Kylo Ren or General Grievous?
Bro, I'm gonna steal a term that Leviathan from Average Bros coined. He called him Darth Jonas, like the Jonas Brothers.
Yes. Darth Hansen.
Right, Darth Hansen. But yeah, definitely I'm more afraid of General Grievous, even with just 2 arms.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that at no point is there ever any real fear from this dude. Like, I don't, like, he's got the most bass in his boots.
Oh my god.
That dude walks. It sounds like he's heavy as hell. That's about it.
He was formerly, just judging by his looks, he was formerly a dubstep artist before he was a Sith. So
clearly he's using the Force to hide his hair.
He's got all that bass, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you get your hair in the helmet. Use the Force.
Right.
But also, like, his powers are iffy. Like, literally when Han Solo and crew land on the planet, he knows they're there. Yeah. Like, literally he turns, he's like, Han Solo. Which, disrespectful as hell, by the way. That dude's your dad. Don't call him by his first and last name like that. But he knew they were there immediately. Then, literally, they're in the same room, and this dude has no idea Han Solo's sneaky ass is behind him. No idea. Han Solo could have shot him in the back. He could have walked up and put him in a sleeper hole.
Right.
And threw him over the side of the thing. Like, and here's the thing. Yep, I'm going on it. I'm having a bad time with it. I enjoyed the movie. Like, the movie was really good. It was really good. Like, I'm ready to go see it again. I also try not to get caught up in the hype. And I think we were fortunate enough when we saw it, even though we saw it on opening night, we saw it relatively early, like a 7:30 show. There were people who were, like, in, like, Star Wars onesies, but it wasn't, like, bananas. Like, there were no lightsabers, and, like, it wasn't, like, there weren't other people to add to the hype to make you feel like the experience of going to see Star Wars for some people, I'm positive overshadowed what the movie was actually like.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it. My dad and I saw the entire marathon, so we saw all 7 movies back to back to back to back. And literally, like, there was parts where in the beginning, I wasn't doing it, but then I had to join in. Was clapping during like fight scenes, like, oh shit! Like, I've seen this movie 30 times already, but I'm still clapping. And you know, also we were running off of no sleep, so I may change my score after I see it again tomorrow, do like a second opinion on it or whatever, but I don't know, I really did like it. But I mean, part of the experience was, you know, seeing it with a bunch of other people. Most of them were diehards, obviously. They paid
Agreed.
and invested 20 hours of their life in a movie theater.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that's pretty serious. And you know what? To, like, hear you say, like, literally having just watched all 6 movies in a row, to hear you say that this one is your favorite of all of them, I get that. Like, I'll concede that to you because you literally just watched them all. For me, Return of the Jedi is the best Star Wars movie ever made. It just is. It definitively ends what is literally one of the best trilogies ever.
Yeah.
And it puts you in the place you need to be in to get ready for this. Now, the honest to goodness truth is, I would much rather have had an episode 7 that started like 2 years later instead of one that starts like 20 years later.
Yeah.
I don't really do any of the characters.
Just real quick, sorry to cut you off, but thank you for agreeing that episode 6 is the best one, because most people say 5. I agree that 6 is the best.
Nah, literally,
the original trilogy.
The Empire Strikes Back is the first movie I ever remember going to see, like, with my parents. I'm positive it's not the first movie I ever saw in the theater. But, like, we went and saw, like, it stands out. It is a standout film for me. But it was no Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi was literally, like, not only was it a great movie, but it also took advantage of the fact that, like, kung fu movies were, like, the greatest ever at that period in time. And so it took, like, the idea of, like, Enter the Dragon, kind of like all that. It was supposed to be Revenge of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi was just, like, a perfect type. Like, it just did it. But I think that's the best in the entire series. This film is probably somewhere in the middle. But I wasn't happy with the ending. At all. Like, at all.
And we got, like, another 500 days till episode 8.
The ending of this film literally would have jumped probably 4 or 5 notches for me if Luke had just force grabbed the lightsaber out of her hand at the end. Like, instead of just having her stand there for literally like 30 seconds holding a lightsaber out to him and having a helicopter pan around them, just have him force pull the joint away. Let me see the dude use his power.
See, I was waiting on 2 things to happen. One, I was waiting on him to show up when in the forest when they were fighting during that final fight scene. I was waiting for him to just pop up like, "What up?"
Right.
And then 2, I was kind of waiting for that final scene, for when she's, you know, holding out the thing to him, for him to pull out his own. Like, hey, I never stopped training. Like, even though I've been here and being a recluse, like, you know.
Still dope.
Right. That's what I was waiting for.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I
was really just waiting for anything, honestly. I was waiting for something.
I just feel like they didn't want to throw him in there because I felt he would have, like, I don't want to say overshadowed, but, you know, as soon as you would have saw Luke, everything would have just shifted away from people and went straight to Luke. And don't get me wrong, everybody was sitting there, you know, waiting, Luke's going to pop out here. Luke's going to pop out here. Like, no.
Right. I mean, I'll tell you, though, I really thoroughly enjoyed Daisy Ridley and John Boyega as Rey and Finn. Like, I love those characters. I thought they were outstanding.
And I'm going to tell you something. John Boyega has some of the blackest moments I've seen in a movie in a long time. Look, real talk, like, BB-8 was, like, fun. Like, BB-8 had some black-ass moments, like, literally being like, I don't know, like, this dude ain't, like, he's lying. Like, he's not really, you know what I mean? Like, just like, come on, dog, look out for me, because I kind of like her. You know what I'm saying? And him just being like, I don't know. Like, I don't really like this dude. You know what I'm saying? And, like, for real, there was this moment where Chewbacca said something, and he was literally like, man, I don't speak that. Like, and I just felt like a dude being in, like, front of a bunch of, like, Spanish people and having no idea what they're saying and just, like, being fed up. Like, like, I don't speak that. I don't speak these bleeps and bloops. I don't speak these roars and grumbles. I don't speak that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, chill. I just thought that one of the things is I feel like that was really down to earth because I felt you were able, as an audience, you're able to connect with him and his character because we can't understand anything they're saying. We literally just accept that, like, when R2-D2 bleeps and bloops, whatever C-3PO says in response, we still have to guess at what exactly was said that he's responding to.
It's like Kenny on South Park.
I agree. Exactly. But I can understand him. Like, you can actually go back and listen to it and figure out what he was saying.
You're the only person that does that, though. Like, most people just accept that they can't understand what he's saying.
Shouldn't. But yeah, like, I don't know what Chewbacca's talking about, but clearly Han Solo has understood him for many, many years. And so he just responds to it. You know what I mean? And so having an actual character that literally just said, like, dog, I don't know what you're talking about, just kind of felt good. You know what I mean? To have it be like, okay, there is somebody in this universe who's like, I don't do this. I don't know what you're talking about. I think that the character in the cantina, I can't think of her name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember her name either.
I didn't really understand her. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's a seer or whatever. We don't know how she got Luke's lightsaber. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It didn't feel so significant, but I also got the feeling that, like, Han knew who Rey was.
Yeah, agreed there.
The first time he asked her what her name was and she responded, and he was like, Rey, huh? It was kind of like, seems like he knows her. And then that character in the cantina asked him, like, who's the girl? But then they cut away.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like he must have given her an actual explanation for, like, who she is.
Right.
But they never talk about her like that. They only talk about their son.
Yeah, I have two theories on that.
Okay, I'm listening.
The first is that she's his and Leia's daughter, which I know in the original canon, Leia and Han have 2 kids.
Right.
I know that no longer exists. But, like, the fact that they're, like, finishing each other's sentences and shit when they're on the Millennium Falcon, like, I think that kind of, you know, but also at the very end, when, like, just the way Luke responds when he sees her, it's not just like, oh shit, somebody showed up here. It's like, oh my god, it's you.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that when she had that like
that vision, like that flashback.
Yeah, that like flashback kind of thing, that the chick in the cantina said to her, "This was your father's, and it was his grandfather's. Like, you're Luke's daughter."
Right.
Now, how it went, so that would make, obviously, Han and Leia her aunt and uncle.
Right.
And I think you can kind of explain away, like, her and Han and what they have in common in terms of the technical side of, like, being able to fly in the Millennium Falcon. Like, Luke was a mechanic, you know what I'm saying? He worked on that kind of stuff. Obviously, Darth Vader, Anakin, pod racing, all that kind of stuff. Like, she has that similar kind of background. Tatooine, Jakku, living on a desert planet, you know, whatever. Like, she kind of has that same background. So I think, you know, you could say she's into all that stuff because it runs in her blood, because it comes from there. I'd say that that's a high possibility, but that I'm almost positive that that's what she said. And so, of course, it leaves a lot of explaining to do. As far as her family leaving and never coming back and what all that means. But I also got the feeling that Kylo Ren knew exactly who she was, because he does make mention at one part. He's like, oh, the girl I've been hearing so much about, which was after the fact. But the first time he heard mention of her, when they were like, yeah, the BB unit escaped with the stormtrooper, and he's like, anything else? And he was like, and there was a girl helping him, and then he got really upset. Like he knew who she was, who it had to be, what that meant. But I also got this weird feeling like during the film that somehow this awakening of the Force also affected Finn. That that moment of fear that he has in the beginning of the film, where he just won't shoot these people and he's scared and whatever, like the way Kylo Ren stops and looks at him, almost like he felt kind of the Force from him. I still think there's a possibility that maybe Finn has the Force too, somehow, and they just haven't connected all the dots yet. But it did feel like that may have been a direction they were going,
right?
Something like that. Did y'all get that impression?
Got that a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely think that was part of it. So, yeah, man. I mean, look, I enjoyed the movie. I think it was a really good movie, but it definitely has some. There's definitely some work to be done. And again, we may see it better fleshed out over the next couple of movies. But it's the first one that left me that like when it ended, I felt like I was left hanging. Like it's the first cliffhanger one for me.
I also want to point out, my dad pointed this out to me, was that in every Star Wars movie, there's limbs lost. But this one didn't have any limbs lost. In Episode 1, Darth Maul loses half his body.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In 2 and 3, we got some limbs going off of there. Anakin loses his hand in 2. He loses his legs in 3. Then in 4, we got Luke loses his hand in 4, right? Is that 4 or 5? I think it's 4.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back and forth. Like, the whole hand thing with Darth and with Luke.
It's a family affair with it.
Nobody's losing hands.
Somebody's going to lose a limb.
Somebody's losing the dad.
Well, that's, yep.
And that's essentially probably more important than a limb. But this was the first movie to not lose limbs. It was also the first to not conclude effectively. Oh no, you guys are frozen.
Uh-oh.
Let it go.
Yeah, I think he may have just froze out, but I mean, but definitely.
I'm still here.
We're still here, so we're gonna keep going until he gets himself back in order. But yeah, the limb thing was just like, cause I'm just thinking the next movie, someone's gonna get it just absolutely horrible, and like they can make a whole lot of the Anakin setup, build a whole new body.
Right.
I mean, all we saw was there was a couple of Finn may have gotten it. Actually, you know what? Finn, we could say probably got it the worst, because when Kylo hit him, he did get him right in the spine. So we don't know how bad that could turn out to be. So who knows? We may get the next movie. He may be not walking, because when we ended the movie, he was still in a coma, whatever you want to call it. So
Professor Finn. Guy's in a little wheelchair. What's up, guy?
But I think.
Yeah, he's out. He's gone.
Oh yeah, he said tablet literally just rebooted itself. But hey, I gotta agree with you on that one. But I think what we may get with a lot of the openings and everything, I think they may try to tie in some of. I don't know if you've been watching Star Wars Rogue, or what is
Rebels? I haven't. I need to get on that though.
And I feel like because they did with Clone Wars, they did a great job at tying a bunch of things into the third movie. Where if you necessarily watched the third movie, you knew Order 66 was there, but they made it make more sense if you actually watched the Clone Wars.
Got you. Yeah, I gotta catch up on Rebels, because I was told by a few people that it is a really good show and that it is supposed to tie in. I just think, I just think, like I said,
diagnosing with PC, man. So just, tell them you lost me, whatever, and then you guys can go ahead and close. I was going to close out anyway. You guys close out. I have no idea.
It's all good. We're talking about a few other things. It's all good. All right, man. Yeah, we decided to diagnose itself.
We shouldn't have told him we shouldn't have told everybody we lost him. We should have just been like, "Where'd he go?" No. No. Yeah, like the only problem I had with that film, the only big problem I had with it was just the conclusion. It just didn't feel like I didn't leave the film feeling like, all right, I'm good to go till 8. Like I left the film like, no, what happens next? Like it was almost like I'm just more anxious than I am like satisfied that I finally got another Star Wars.
Yeah, and I think that was the idea they were going for, to make you want it. Because literally, as soon as we walked out, started talking about it, it was just like, oh, we're like 2 years out from
Right. Yeah.
now. It's like, oh, come on. But I felt as though it just wanted to leave a lot of things open. And so if by the time either we get to 8, or maybe if they decide to do something in between to help lead up to 8, maybe, like little shorts, something, maybe a comic.
Well, I know they got like they got those other movies announced, like Rogue One and Han Solo. I know Han Solo is going to be like a prequel story or whatever, but there might still be some stuff within them that may lead into it. Maybe after credit scene or something like that. Just something to kind of get some hype rolling.
Yeah, but as of now, so you got the reviews from us, so I still give it my 8.5 for now. I'm gonna go check it out again.
Right.
You're still solid on what you got, your 9.5 right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna
go see it tomorrow, so we'll see if my opinion changes at all.
Cool. So we'll keep it there. We'll go see it again. We're gonna give you some other. We change our reviews or we change our numbers. You know where to find us at. Loading Snacks. You can get us on Instagram, Facebook. OutBREAK, tell us where we can pick you up at one more time for everybody.
Yeah, man, we got we're on Facebook. We got our own website, averagebirdsreviews.com, Twitter, about to be an Instagram. We're all over the place, man. Everywhere you can connect to people, you can connect to us.
There we go. So with that being said, you guys know where to find us. Check us out. We're out.
Peace.